ladies and gentlemen, the convener of the Doing Business Conference in Nigeria, Ms. Linda Oneze, my brother, Tonya Cole. It's really a pleasure to see. We were in DC together, I think less than a week ago. We were both trying to decide, jet lag is hitting. He was like, where? Ladies and gentlemen, please allow me to stand on the very well adumbrated protocols. And please, in advance, forgive me. I must confess I'm very tired. But what I would say is that, let me first actually just start by especially congratulating the convener and her team, and I'll tell you why. She's invited me, I would say, probably to every single one of these conferences. And I've always had a clash, usually abroad, like always. And so when I got this invitation again, I was actually in Abuja, and I said, no, as a matter of integrity, credibility, her tenacity, that's what I was going to talk about, why I'm here this morning. I don't think many things could have gotten me out of bed or to Lagos this weekend. So I want to congratulate you, like tenacity pays off. I've never met her, but she has continued to work on a topic that I feel especially passionate about and have devoted quite a few years to. And so congratulations, well done, I'm proud of you. It's not an easy thing to convene a conference year in, year out. Thank you to the sponsors, I wasn't asked to, but it takes a lot. Thank you to the team for putting this together, it takes a lot. Doing business in Nigeria is really what's going to, ease of doing business in Nigeria is what's going to move this economy forward. And so thank you for what you do. So the Doing Business in Nigeria conference has since 2021 created a credible platform for addressing the real constraints facing businesses in emerging economies, not just diagnosing them, but interrogating how they are solved. The theme of this conference reflects the real work we are doing and the deliberate journey that we are undertaking as a nation. And I say not just government, but also with private sector. The geography of the global south, and indeed just the whole world, global growth is shifting. But the IMF has forecasted that Africa will, for the first time in modern era, outpace the growth of Asia. But for that projection to hold, Africa's largest economies will need to convert scale into sustained, expandable expansion, basically. And the African Continental Free Trade Area is extremely promising. The potential is clear, the work has commenced, but to scale for this kind of projection, that means the opportunity and those windows don't always stay forever. So clearly, Nigeria is at an inflection point in our economic journey. Since taking office in May 2023, the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, has initiated important reforms: fiscal, monetary, regulatory, trade, industrial, through the Renewed Hope Agenda. So the past 3 years have been defined basically by a structural reset. We can see economic stability, which is a crucial foundation for competitiveness as it drives investment and expansion decisions. Multiple official exchange rates were unified into a market-based regime, strengthening transparency and price discovery. Legacy foreign exchange backlogs were cleared within 12 months, reinstating convertibility and investor access. Naira volatility has since moderated, restoring stability in the currency market. Our legislative reforms, overhauling our tax architecture, we all went through the journey together with the public hearings and with the newspaper and media, but finally overhauling our tax architecture after decades of stagnation. Our securities and investments legislation also refreshed. Inflation was halved year on year from 2024 to 2025. But amidst shifting geopolitical dynamics, we're all watching what's happening. A lot of disruptions in trade, a lot of disruptions in capital flows, a lot of energy security discussions going on. And as Nigeria, we're in an interesting position with our oil production and signs of discovery or recovery. But at the same time, some of the constraints that make it important that we stay focused on our focus at this particular time. So when we see also growth in the non-oil sector, increasing our diversification, our external earnings, and strengthening resilience, what remains our key priority as a country and as a government, particularly from the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, is to translate these reforms into growth. We need a competitive, predictable, and investable business environment that delivers at scale for over 200 million people, supporting our particularly small and medium-sized enterprises, and also making sure that enough capital and investment comes in to help our medium-sized businesses to grow and scale across Africa and beyond. So there are many numbers that I can tell you what the numbers are saying. In our outlook, the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment released an outlook earlier this year, 2026. We also released an outlook in 2025. And Nigeria's total capital importation reached about $21 billion in 2025, with non-oil exports exceeding $6.1 billion for the first time. Intra-African trade reached over 4 trillion naira for the first half of 2025, and Nigeria traded 281 distinct non-oil export products. Now, these are important signals of confidence, of trade activity, of export breadth, that it's improving and that the pipeline is real. And our responsibility now is to widen and deepen it, to ensure that it becomes diversified job creation all across the country. Industrial activity has also showed early signs of resilience, and we've recorded growth in sectors like automobile assembly, cassava starch, light electronics. While I can give you a lot of statistics of what we have been tracking that has been helping the economy in terms of both investments coming in, the trading, Nigeria's particularly non-oil exports, and also our industrialization, our productivity, our competitiveness, I will always remain candid and say that these early signs are not the destination. And this year, the government, particularly our ministry, is focused on disciplined execution, staying the course of these reforms, even in a volatile global era, and making sure that Nigeria takes its place in leading the country and the nation and the continent to where Africa really needs to be. So more precisely, we're focused on disciplined execution, not necessarily new policies, but delivery and deepening. So the operationalization of Nigeria's industrial policy is underway. Tomorrow I'll go to Abuja to celebrate with another entrepreneur who's marking 10 years of productivity in the clothing business. And then from there, tomorrow I'll also go to Kano because we're starting a subnational tour to really take trade facilitation, to take all the information across the country. And so we'll be in Kano for the first half of next week working on this. So policy implementation, policy sensitization, policy actualization is underway with an emphasis on raising productivity and scaling industrial clusters, processing hubs, strengthening local raw material utilization, working on value chains. You've seen our work in the shea sector, which is ongoing, cassava, cashew, sesame, leather, just working with value chains across the country and trying to see how we can support, particularly as we want to make sure that we not only consume what we produce, but we also export what we produce and do it competitively. So our work is anchored on 4 reinforcing principles, priorities this year. First, unlocking global and regional demand for scale, to scale non-oil exports and industrial outputs. The second is strengthening domestic production capacity to deliver export-ready goods and services competitively. The third is mobilizing strategic investments into infrastructure, innovation, and industrial growth. So that's a lot of what takes us outside the country, around the world, speaking to Nigeria's business climate, what is available, what sectors are moving, what incentives are available, how to help B2B partnerships, G2G, foundational agreements, trade agreements, investor protection agreements, comprehensive economic partnership agreements. So you see our work across, whether it's the UAE with Brazil, signed a framework in Yaoundé about a month ago with China on the possibility of negotiating. We were in the US last week, went with some officials from the US government, also interested in some of our sectors and how to see how investments can come to help us, because we can't clap with one hand. Without capital coming in, our businesses cannot scale. Without businesses, domestic businesses doing well, domestic businesses are the first advertisement for any investor to come in. And so the priority is always Nigeria first, and Mr. President takes that very seriously. So the fourth is deploying data, digital systems, and strategic communications to improve execution, transparency, and accountability. And really, no matter what we do, if we don't communicate it, if we don't track empirically, if we don't show the data, it's going really nowhere. So the pillars are all mutually reinforcing and to grow the economy sustainably. On execution, we're institutionalizing structured engagement with the private sector. We have a Platinum Business Champions program, about 21 of them, the largest businesses in Nigeria that gross over $1 billion per annum. And they have basically a concierge service, a bespoke service to them. There's a team that supports them in how we can make sure that they can create more jobs and they can scale out of Nigeria, across Africa, and the rest of the world. We also had a domestic investor summit middle of last year. We had a PPPP summit towards the end of Q4 of last year. That's public-private, press, and partners. And that was specifically on implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. And so that's part of what we're taking on a roadshow. We'll be starting with Kano next week. So I think it's Saturday morning. I don't want to take you into too much, but I would like to talk about our Nigeria Commodities Exchange. We started reforming that organization in Q4 of 2024, and it's beginning to deliver results. Over 500% growth in traded volumes and 111% increase in traded value in 2025. Strengthening structured trade and enabling domestic value addition through partnerships such as the Afreximbank-led Export Trade Company framework. And why I speak about this is because we have so many commodities that are traded on the export market, but value addition and also market access are two critical things that we need to leverage that. We account for nearly 40% of global shea production, yet we capture only about 1% of the $6.5 billion market. And so that production gap is a huge value gap for Nigeria. And so we've been addressing that targetedly. That was one of the areas that we've taken and reformed and working on. And through strengthening regulatory framework, making sure that the organization is better restructured, and delivering traceability and market confidence. So that's just one of the examples. These milestones reflect a business environment that is strengthening progressively. It's showing stability, it's showing skill, it's showing long-term growth potential. It's showing the reinforcement of Nigeria's position as a compelling destination for trade, for investment, for industrialization. Many of you would have followed or known the work of the PEBEC, the Presidential Enabling Business Environment Council, that speaks specifically to MSMEs, and the reforms, those are still ongoing as well. And so there are several tools in the kit box of the federal government of Nigeria to make sure that private sector at every level, even nano, we have SMEDAN, can thrive. We have NEXIM, we have, under the Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, we have 17 agencies: Export Promotion Council, Investment Promotion Commission, to make sure that each area of the ecosystem for domestic investors and for foreign investors coming in has the opportunity to thrive. And so I've already talked a bit about the African Continental Free Trade Area. It's one that we prioritized under this administration. It's a market of 1.4 billion people. It was the largest in the world. Now the EU and India have formed another free trade area. And so the AFCFTA, $3.4 trillion market in GDP. And so Nigeria plays a pivotal role in making sure that we can actualize those potentials. And I talked about that earlier in the speech. We've prioritized female-led enterprises. This is part of why I'm here supporting this. But some of you may have seen, we signed an MOU with the Ministry of Women Affairs in March. That was our Women's Day event to see how we can support medium-sized, a bit larger, women-owned and founded businesses to scale export access to finance so that they can scale using the AFCFTA. And so in conclusion, I will mention that there are a few partnerships. Nigeria working with commercial investment partnership with the US. The UK government has issued has made about 3,000 Nigerian products duty-free once we can have the market access. The commercial and investment partnership with the UK prioritizes agriculture, tech, and infrastructure. And so there's a lot of opportunities before us. It's an important time for Nigeria. It's an exciting time for Nigerian businesses. And so as we discuss the blueprint for competitive business environments today, I urge us all to stay focused on three imperatives. Let's stay the course on the reforms while tightening execution with efficiency. Let's connect policy to production. That means staying informed on what's going on and actually using them. And then let's pursue inclusion as we grow. Because that's the only way that we'll be able to deliver sustainability. And that speaks to our national security, our job creation, and our youthful population. So from our end, with government, the work continues. Nigeria's best chapter is by far still ahead of us. We continue to work and with coordination and discipline and sustained execution, we can really build a more resilient, a more competitive, and export-driven economy. And so that's our collective goal. I hope I speak for you as well. So with that, thank you for your attention, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.